So now that I've been wearing Chanel's Le Lion for a week, what do I really think about this one? And also, how does it compare to Coromandel? Also, 5 additional Oriental amber fragrances that are alternatives to Le Lion in today's video. And today we're doing 2 videos. I've got one now and we have one later today with a full bottle giveaway. Stay tuned for that. But today, as I said, it's all about Le Lion. So if you're curious to learn about Le Lion, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. If you haven't caught my unboxing and first impressions video for Chanel's Le Lion, please go catch that as I gave you my first impressions of the fragrance, and initial reactions were great. In fact, it was really reminding me of Coromandel, and also it was reminding me a little bit of Guerlain's Shalimar. Not sure where that was coming from, but I was getting those 2 reminders of the fragrance. But I've been testing it out and wearing it more and more, and the fragrance has developed into something completely different than my first impressions that I should let you guys all know about. So if you're in the market to go buy this fragrance, just be warned, is kind of what the purpose of this video was. Also, I wanted to just compare it to this and offer some alternatives, because this kind of is a chameleon-esque fragrance for me. It goes through multiple dimensions of styles, and just wanted to point it all out to you guys. But before I get to the review, if this is your first time tuning into my channel and you still haven't subscribed, please do click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. Also, one more thing before I move forward with the full review. If you haven't checked out my merchandise yet, I do have a 20% off discount code running, and that will expire very soon. You take 20% off using the code PATCHHO, PATCHHO. I have a link to my merchandise in the info box, and I have, of course, perfume themed t-shirts and you know, other merchandise, mugs and things like that. I do want to show you a couple of them here. This one is I'd Rather Wear Perfume, and it's a long sleeve t-shirt. This one is Make America Smell Great Again. This is a v-neck t-shirt. One of my latest is my Holy Neroli t-shirt. As you can see here, it's another v-neck. And last but not least, Patch Ho. If you are a Patch Ho, this is your t-shirt. But there's lots of more merchandise and different themed t-shirts. I have one for Oak Moss, Ambergris, Vetiver, and a few others. So go check it out and you'll see what all the different merchandise that I have. And don't forget the discount code. It's PATCHHO, PATCHHO, and that will expire very soon. And again, go catch my first impressions if you want to find out details about this one. I'm not going to give you too much details about it, but I've been testing it out, and it does remind me of Coromandel, but it's not like Coromandel. I think the only similarities with Coromandel are that this is an Oriental, Coromandel is also an Oriental. This is using Patchouli, and this is also using Patchouli, and it kind of stops there pretty much for me. Now, first impressions, when I was smelling it, it also got, you know, had a very powdery experience. And yes, I do experience this being on the powdery side. This is not so powdery, and if I'm saying powdery, it's not necessarily like a powder bomb. Here we go with the powdery theme of this week once again. It's not a powder bomb, but it has powdery touches, and for me, amber fragrances do go in a powdery direction. In fact, when I first smelled this, I got powdery touches to my nose, and that was my very first initial experience with this fragrance. But what happens is when you first spray this fragrance, it's very citrusy, like lemons take over pretty much. It's a very lemony start, but you're experiencing everything else come in to try and compete with the lemons at the top. But if I'm going to say this is a lemony fragrance, it certainly is when you first start wearing it. But it doesn't stay being a lemon fragrance. I think the ambery touches in the heart, the amber and labdanum note that are here in this fragrance, are creeping in to kind of like, you know, cross out the lemon and fade the lemon away and let themselves take over and being an ambery fragrance. And this is a very ambery fragrance experience for me while I'm wearing it. but along the way it feels very resinous and also balsamic while you're in the heart. Now by this time, while you're in the heart, it's an amber fragrance. It's slightly powdery, and it's definitely vanillic as well, because the vanilla from the base notes is creeping in. Of course, amber fragrances have vanillic touches to begin with, but I think the vanilla is creeping in from the base for us to kind of blend with the ambery touches in the heart. Now, also in the heart, I'm getting smoky touches. Typically, Labdanum as a note, which is in the heart notes, is a smoky experience. It's a very sticky, resinous, smoky, sweet kind of a resin from the rock rose, the Labdanum flower. So this is all happening at the same time in the heart notes. So it's a sweet, smoky, dark experience because it starts out pretty bright with the lemons at the top. Very bright. In fact, it's very lemony, as I said. But lemons don't last. They do not last in this fragrance. Mostly for about, I don't know, probably 15 to 20 minutes, not more than that, is what I was experiencing lemons. And initial blast is very lemony, but it's fading away, and it's less lemony by the time you're in around 15 to 20 minutes of the fragrance. So it doesn't stay lemony, of course. So it's getting smoky in the heart, it's vanillic, it's ambery, and it's resinous and balsamic all at the same time. In the first impressions, or somewhere along the way this week, I described ambery fragrances that are molassesy, syrupy, and there's ambery fragrances that are not. This is giving me the combination of both. There's a gummy, slight textural kind of a experience when I'm wearing it. It's almost like chopped amber is what I should say. So it doesn't flow. It's not a flowy, syrupy, gooey, molassesy kind of amber. It's dry. It has dry experience on me when I'm wearing it. But also bringing up the point that dry fragrances do not last as long on me, this one does have great longevity because it lingers on from what's going on in the base, and I'll get to the base in a bit. So the heart experience is great experience. You know, it's a different kind of amber, and it reminds me of Shalimar during the amber during the heart part. But that part is also going away because as it gets smokier, then I'm not reminded of a Shalimar much anymore. And again, the reminder is just a reminder of Shalimar. It doesn't remind me of Shalimar. Like, it's not like a duplicate. Perhaps Olivier Polge was inspired by this, but it doesn't like, it's not like a duplicate or a copy of Shalimar. They probably thought, we're going to make a fragrance, so perhaps it goes in this direction a little bit. I wanted to go into this, you know, Shalimar direction a little bit. And I also wanted to go into the Coromandel's section a little bit as well. So he's probably like putting things together to create something like that. And of course, yes, it does remind me of Shalimar, but it doesn't stay there. So finally, we're in the base notes, and it's getting more vanillic, and patchouli comes in, and this is where it reminds me of Coromandel. But it doesn't stay too long because the smokiness is getting more smokier. For me, the patchouli gets very, very woody and sparkly, but it doesn't last too long for me in this particular fragrance, because the more I wear it, the less it's reminding me of Coromandel, but I'm still getting hints of it. Again, probably it's just my nose perhaps could be playing tricks on me, or just the fact that the patchouli in here is similar to the patchouli in here. So that's why I'm reminded of Coromandel. I don't know, but when I was comparing them side by side, it smelled less Coromandel-like for me compared to when I first wore it, and it totally reminded me of Coromandel, if that makes sense. So when I'm testing them side by side, they don't remind me of one another whatsoever, except for this has resins, it's got benzoin, it's got also got frankincense, and it's got patchouli, of course. And I think that's kind of why I think when they combine these kind of resinous and balsamic notes in a fragrance, you're bound to, you know, you'll probably be reminded of other fragrances, but the more I tested them and the more I smelled them side by side, they don't smell anything alike except for the fact that it's got patchouli and resins. So here's more information about Le Lion. So Le Lion is an animal, obviously, and because Coco Chanel was a Leo born in August, so obviously this inspiration is this animal, this big, gigantic, ferocious animal, and the fragrance does have touches like that. So for me, the more I tested it out, it got smokier and smokier on me, and also gets leathery. Now, I looked up notes and things like that. No mention of leather. For me, it's almost like a smoked leather, kind of reminding me of Cuir de Russie from Chanel. So Cuir de Russie from Chanel has these smoky, leathery touches, and I'm not sure where it's coming from, but it really does remind me of the smokiness from Cuir de Russie and the leathery touches. Now again, once again, it doesn't fully go there, but as the fragrance dries down on me, that's what I'm getting, whiffs of something smoky and leathery that it reminds me of. And it gets animalic a little bit as well. Not overly. It's not very, very overly animalic. It's just got hints of it. And in fact, I feel like it's perfect that way, you know? It's great that you can buy a fragrance from a major designer like this Chanel, and you have a fragrance that kind of goes in the animalic direction. Again, it doesn't fully go there. This doesn't smell anything like Dior Privé Leather Oud or anything like that. It's lightly suggesting a little bit of animalics thrown in, which I actually find to be really, really beautiful, because having something like that is unique to this day, you know, especially coming from a designer, as I said. Fragrances don't go much animalic anymore, and just a subtle amount of it in here makes for a more unique wearing experience rather than not, if that makes sense. So that's what the fragrance is mostly about for me. It's animalic, it's musky, it's an Oriental for sure, it's AMBRE, it's balsamic, it's resinous, lots of woodiness, and of course I'm getting the kind of like dry kind of amber more than the syrupy kind of amber. So in other words, it's broken up notes, but still flows pretty nicely, even though I'm experiencing it dry and slightly powdery here as an amber, an Oriental fragrance. I think this is one of the better releases from Chanel and in this collection for me. I think Olivier Polge did a good job with this one. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Now, for the negative about this, I don't think this will be an easy to wear fragrance. For me, Coromandel is much easier to wear in comparison to Le Lion. You have to be in a certain kind of mood to wear the more animalic fragrances. And I'm not saying this is ultra animalic, it's not, but for me, because it's smoky, dark, and animalic as it's drying down, this one's bright and sparkling. The patchouli has the sparkling effervescent quality, which I got a lot of when I'm wearing them side by side. More effervescence pops through with Coromandel in comparison to this one. So this has lots of dark and smoky touches. Of course, it goes leathery. This one's just a very uplifting and happy fragrance, even though it's an Oriental. You know, it's got the darker kind of ambery, balsamic, and resinous notes. Both are great. Both are actually excellent. Both great releases. Two of my favorites from this house, in this collection to be exact, and I'm really, really loving this one. For me, this one almost feels like they've taken 4 different Chanel S exclusives and sort of kind of like put them together, and that's kind of trying to make a point a little bit. For me, it's Coromandel, it's Cuir de Russie, it's Sycamore, and also 1957, because I feel like they've pulled different parts of those 4 fragrances to create this one, and it's just an analogy I'm trying to use. I don't think this is what they did, but that's what I'm experiencing, because I'm getting the patchouli and the resins from here, getting the smoky woodiness, earthiness from Sycamore, the citruses from 1957, and then of course the leathery smokiness from Cuir de Russie. I think this is a great release, one of the best for this year. I'm happy with it. Just the fact that it's a little challenging to wear sometimes because you have to be in the right mood for this more of a darker experiencing, but it's not like an overly dark or animalic fragrance wearing experience. Just a really great release, I think. So those are my thoughts on this particular, these two, well, at least this one, and of course in comparison to this one. Now, a few alternative fragrances to Le Lion from Chanel would be the first one I'm talking about. Also focuses on a cat from the house of Gucci. It's the Eyes of the Tiger. It's another Oriental. It's another amber. Very different. For me, this one's ultra dry. This one's dry, but not necessarily ultra dry like this one. It's still an amber. And you know, as I say, I like my fragrances or ambers to be syrupy, molassesy, but in comparison to the two, I think they're both dry, but this one seems a little more syrupier than this particular one. And this one also is also brighter. There's a brightness about it, not necessarily as dark as Le Lion for me. Amber, vanilla, and labdanum to make a beautiful, powdery once again. We're getting powdery with these particular amber notes or amber fragrances, but I think this is a gorgeous one. Just really beautiful to wear. Every time I spray it, it's got a brightness, it's got this resinous touches, it's got this balsamic touches, slight smoky, and then there's a little bit very light patchouli-esque touches and slight greenness in there as well. I think this is a wonderful Gucci fragrance, but not many people talk about it. But either way, it's a great amber, the Eyes of the Tiger, and of course the Le Lion. I think both Gucci and Chanel came up with amber fragrances or oriental fragrances focusing on some of the bigger tigers or cats in the world. So the next one, a lot of people have been asking me if it's similar to this particular fragrance or a few others, and I don't agree. The fact that it's an amber and an oriental fragrance, I do agree. This one, Ambre Sultan, they smell different to me in comparison to Le Lion. As I said, in the end, it's still an amber, and this one still is on the syrupier side than this one. It's not as powdery. But for me, what sticks out for me in this one, it's so different than this, so different. Bay leaf and oregano is prominent here in comparison to me in this one. There's no bay leaf or oregano here. So in the end, it's an amber with these greenish herbal kind of woody touches in here, you know, very green and syrupy ambery at the same time. So in the end, I think people might think that they're ambers and they're talking about how an amber here and an amber here are going to smell alike, but this one does not smell alike. And the other one that came up is also Mitza from Dior. For me, Mitza does smell like this a little bit. Not identical, but to me Mitza does not smell like this at all. It doesn't. That's just my nose, but every nose is different. Once again, you might smell things differently and you might connect fragrances closer that I'm not connecting, but I don't see the similarities of Mitza with Le Lion, but I do see the similarities of Mitza with Ambre Sultan. And in addition to this, Absolute Pour le Soir from Maison Francis Kurkdjian, there is a whole video about this topic. If you're curious, you can go watch that. So one more fragrance, actually three more fragrances. There's a fragrance from the house of Théo Cabanel called BARKHANE. So this is another amber or oriental fragrance, and I think it's a great alternative to this. Again, you might be happy with this and you're not looking for an alternative, but if you test this out and you think it goes to Animalic for you, then these are definitely options. Now BARKHANE, for me, is a very resinous amber. For me, it focuses on lots of myrrh. So myrrh has a sweet resinous touch to it, but there's also loads of labdanum. There's lots of vanilla, tonka beans, patchouli, and cumin. Very sexy fragrance for an amber. I really enjoy this one. And again, they're not identical. These are not identical fragrances. I was looking for ambers or oriental fragrances that are ambery and also leathery, smoky, but my collection didn't have them. That's what makes this one unique and a great fragrance for me, because I don't have, I mean, I might have some smoky, light smoky touches in ambers or some leathery touches, but not really. I couldn't find leathery touches. Smoky, yes, but not leathery. So for me, this one goes into that smoky, leathery direction, and that's what it makes it kind of a unique amber experience. But this one seems brighter. Again, it's not as dark, but it's got lots of resins and sweet vanilla and tonka and Labdanum, as I said. Great fragrance. BARKHANE is a great amber. Check it out. Another one I recently spoke about in a video for Make Parfum Gantier. It's Ambre Presso Ultime, one of the best ambers. This version, or the original version. Now this one for me is, again, a syrupy, dry amber, slightly powdery. It's got lots of vanilla, it's got amber, it's got lavender, Tolu balsam, and it's got labdanum as well. So this one actually has the aromatic touches of the lavender, so it does make it a little different than this, but still, it's dry, but not ultra dry. This one seems very, very dry to me, on me, when I'm wearing it. And of course, as I said, smoky and leathery as well. And a great alternative if you're looking for an amber, so that's Ambre Presso or Ambre Presso Ultime. And last but not least, I'm going to end the video with this particular suggestion from the House of YSL from the Le Vestiaire collection, and this is Caftan. So Caftan is a resinous balsamic fragrance. It's an Oriental once again. Benzoin, labdanum, olibanum, musk, styrax, tangerine. A great fragrance. I think it's a great alternative. They're not alike. They don't smell alike, except for the fact that they use similar notes, you know? Oriental fragrance and the style is the same. But I really like this one a lot. It's got loads of benzoin. It's a great benzoin fragrance, but it also has the smokiness of the olibanum and the slight muskiness and a little bit of the orangey tangerine in here. A great alternative. Caftan from the House of YSL. Anyway, that's my full review of Le Lion and some alternatives to Le Lion if you are not happy with this one. I think it's one of my favorite fragrances of 2020. I'm glad it finally came out, otherwise it would have been a 2021. Although, no, it wouldn't have been 2021 because it was launched in 2020 exclusively for the Middle East, and now finally it's making it here. I really like it. I mean, is it #1 favorite of the year? You'll have to find out when I do the video of my favorite fragrances of the year. But right now I'm really enjoying this one, and I think it's a great, great fragrance. The fact that it's a very lemony start, very ambery, dry, powdery, and then also smoky, leathery, dry down. Wonderful fragrance. I love it. Le Lion from Chanel. And that's my video for today, guys. Let me know what you think about Le Lion from Chanel. Have you compared it to Coromandel? And what do you think of the alternatives? Put some comments down so I can find out. Other than that, stay tuned for the second video today. We do have a giveaway, and it's a Saffron Bond review video, so you'll have to participate on the website there. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.